It'll, even from right here.
Yeah.
Got it.
It'll pick you up right super. So. Sounds good.
Okay, I am going to call a special board meeting for Tuesday, September 30th, 2025 to order. And can I have a roll call, please?
Board President Tom Jennings.
Here.
Board Vice President Veronica Miramontes. Here. Board Member Jeffrey Cheetah.
Here.
Board Member Dr. Betty Lusk.
Here.
Member Sarah Ofstedall. Here. Board Member Malika Velasquez.
Here.
Per AB 2449, Trustee Velasquez is attending virtually for just cause.
Student Trustee Jaden Kahn.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Diffenbaugh, are there any changes to the agenda?
No proposed changes, Mr. President.
All right, is there a motion to adopt?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, have a motion from Trustee Uchida and a second from Trustee Ofstedel. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, now next is the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody please rise. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Okay, public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the Board of Education on matters within the jurisdiction of the board, but not on this agenda, may do so during the public comment period for up to 3 minutes. Each agenda item is limited to 20 minutes, except public comment. Is there any public comment? How about online? If you're online, go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, we're going to move now to conference discussion and action, interview of candidate to fill vacant board trustee seat. So, board, in your folders, you guys had questions in there. There's 11 of them. I would like to start on my right, and since Trustee Velasquez usually would be the first one, I'm still going to call on Trustee Velasquez. Do you have a question you would like to ask our candidate, Gabriel?
She might not have the list with her.
Oh, you don't have a list, do you? Yeah, and you're muted.
What?
There you
Okay,
go.
can you hear me now? Okay, so I do have the list. I'm just waiting for it to pull up. Is there any way Sarah can go first?
Sure, absolutely. Trustee Ofstedel.
I wasn't expecting to go first. Oh, okay. Hi, welcome. Thank you for applying. I'm Sarah. I'm trustee for Area 7. As a trustee, what do you see as your primary purpose or primary role? How would you fulfill that role, both as an individual and as a member of the governing board?
Yeah, just pick whatever question you want to ask. I'm sorry, I should have been more clear on that.
Thank you. Number 3, thank you. So are we going to do that?
Let's go ahead and, actually, yeah, let's go ahead and have you, if you want to respond to that, Mr. Sanders, that'd be great.
All right.
Do you still remember the question?
Maybe one more time.
Number 3. As a trustee, what do you see as your primary purpose or primary role? How would you fulfill that role both as an individual and as a member of the governing board?
Well, seeing as this board is comprised of folks representing geographical areas, I think one of the most important pieces would be to get to know the area where I live and represent even better. I've spent a lot of time walking and through political campaigns, walking those streets, knocking on doors, getting to know people there. I've walked up and down West Franklin Street a lot of times. I've walked through New Monterey. I've seen a lot of the peninsula, but as it relates to education and the kids who are being educated, the administration, there are adults as well in the Unified School District. Part of the responsibility is to get to know it and then represent it here at the table. Beyond that, I think it's, you've got your board responsibilities to ensure good education, motivated staff. There are all sorts of things that each of you bring to the table from your individual experiences. I come from a background related to public policy. I studied here at the Middlebury Institute, public administration, learned about a lot of the social dynamics that determine a healthy community. So I would bring the perspective that I have gained from my education, from my work experience over the last 15 years to bear. I bring that to bear here as a voice, one voice, in concert with yours to ensure the best outcomes for your students. I know about what diversity means to this community. I know where progress has been made to some extent, focusing mostly on the housing space and how that contributes to community fabric. I'd be doing a lot of listening here. That'd be one of my roles, doing a lot of listening to all of you, to the students, to PK, and all of his on-the-ground experience. I know a lot of the teachers in this district, past and present, so a lot of listening and then just bringing my critical eye to their experiences to help you make decisions about moving forward, making progress, and also preserving what's working well.
Great. Thank you.
Trustee Velasquez, were you able to pull them up? I guess I
Yes,
need my
yes.
mic on. Okay.
And being that he kind of answered the question that I was going to ask already, which was number 10, I'm actually going to switch it up, and I'm going to go to question number 2. And that is, what are you proud of in this district? What would you like to accomplish as a board member? And which is your highest priority and why?
Well, I live about a block away from the mayor, and he's a friend of mine. This city of Monterey, and that district is home to one of the first of many different kinds of, people, different categories that the mayor fits. But what he represents is, again, progress, I would say. We've had good mayors in the past, good for their time perhaps. One thing I'm really proud of is that this city has elected him not once but twice. And what he represents in that sense is something I'm really proud of. I've been on his campaigns. I was his campaign manager, and I'm really proud of what that represents as the district goes. The schools themselves, I'm aware of something called the Mayos Project. I know one of the founders of that. He's the uncle of a friend of mine. And that is a really, really inspiring project I see as sort of not just an educational institution, but just what it represents for this area. The Monterey Bay Marine Science is one of the anchors of this place. I know that this district has had its struggles as well, and that there are aspects we want to make sure it carries forward. So not just individual programs, but just the sustainability of bringing in good teachers, such as the one that started that program. What I would like to do is make sure that the good stuff like that is preserved, like I said in my first answer, and that you continue innovating, and that you continue attracting people who are innovators, who know how to keep that kind of thing alive, how to bring students on board with those ideas and listen to students for what they think they need. And God, there's so many things changing in the world right now, whether it's technology or influences from way over our heads at the federal level. So all we can do to keep up, primarily, again, my experience is in housing, in affordability, and I know how hard it is for teachers to live here. So I want to make sure that they can. And if I can do that through my role on this board, whether it's just one vote or some insight, I will do that. Because these kids deserve to have some sense of consistency and stability in the classroom. If they find somebody they really like and they're gone the next year, that's a bad outcome. So consistency and quality for students and teachers alike, I think, is really important, and I'd like to affect that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your answer.
Is there a way we can make the volume a little louder?
Yeah, can we turn his volume up just a little bit? Okay. All right, and we'll go now to Dr. Lusk.
Thank you, Mr. President. We serve in
as trustees from specific areas, but we are one board. And my question is this: how does an effective school board ensure opportunities for parents and community members to express their diverse range of views, to inform board deliberations that we make on important policy issues? If you would like for me to share that again, I would be happy to, but just wanted to...
Just to clarify, how does a geographically diverse board make sure that the diversity of that geography is represented in decision-making? Is that
As a board.
as a board?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first step, of course, is having well-drawn districts. Districts for different electoral processes change over time, and I suppose trustee areas might change over time. You might see populations shift. You might see occupancy and density change. I'd love to look into how these are determined. I'm kind of a data nerd in certain contexts, and I'd get into that to some extent. However, I think it's more important to make sure that there's a lot of listening happening, like I mentioned earlier. Anybody seeking to represent, or any body seeking to represent a geographical area of diversity, whether it's of the people living in that area or just the specific circumstantial needs of an area, whether it's because it has one high school or two high schools or three elementaries or two middle schools. Those needs are going to be different, and I'm sure PK makes the rounds, making sure that there is, I'm looking forward to learning more about how parents have a chance to provide input to this board and to PK and all the other administrative staff around the district. But making sure that there's a lot of listening happening on the ground and meeting people where they're at. When it comes to public meetings in general, often they're held at times that are only convenient for a certain class of person. And so you just have to diversify the opportunities for folks to provide input and be heard. And that can come in the form of changing the times of meetings, the formats of meetings. There might be ways to issue even more surveys. Those are harder to get people to answer these days because we're inundated. But I'd say at the broadest level, making sure that as many people are heard as possible and meeting them where they're at. That's just one of the principles that I've tried to observe through my work in public policy, and not just the political side of things, but the nonpartisan aspect of figuring out what works for a community. Sometimes it means going door to door. People will have, really insightful conversations with you if you just give them a chance. So that's been my personal experience of it. And the best you can do to facilitate an experience akin to that for input here, I think that would be a pretty granular way of getting really good input. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Vice President, go ahead.
Thank you so much for your answers thus far. I'm going to read question 4. Describe a good board meeting. What are the objectives of a good board meeting?
Well, I've been in meetings where the agenda was too long, not necessarily because of planning, but because we all just had a lot to say. And sometimes it requires an asynchronous vote via email, and that's okay. However, a good board meeting is one where the board chair and whoever your executive is have an idea of how long an item is going to take. There are things you can't plan for, so having contingencies in place is great. But I'm not going to say you want to come to unanimous decisions necessarily. That reflects maybe a little bit of an echo chamber, or everybody's just got, or whoever proposed the item, the action is just really good at what they do. And that's not a bad thing either. Progress, I think, generally is a great way to measure a good board meeting. But diversity of opinion and even some disagreement. I think disagreement's pretty important, especially these days, to be heard in disagreement and for somebody to voice it. For everyone to be heard, for everybody to participate, whether it's the geographical areas or making sure student trustees are heard. I don't want to hear raucous agreement around every single item on a board agenda. So not for the sake of being contrarian, but just to make sure that we are, that phrase I use often is red teaming, you know, the what ifs. What if this policy moves in this direction and something unforeseen affects it? What are we going to do? So having constructive either disagreement or just challenging widely held or apparently majority held opinions, just to make sure that we're, I mean, there the known knowns and the unknown unknowns and everything in between. So trying to suss those out as best you can within time limits and practicality to make sure you make good decisions. That's how my brain works. It's noisy up there sometimes, but I generally trust my intuition because of it.
Great, thank you. Trustee Uchida.
Thank you, Mr. President. My question is number 6. Describe your response if a parent cornered you in a grocery store and asked for your support on a particularly hot issue.
Well, I'm pretty sure I would say if I know that this issue is going to be on an agenda, I will say you'll have an opportunity to provide public comment. And if you'd like, we can spend some time here or at another time, and I'd be happy to hear you out, but I cannot promise, I cannot disclose how I will be voting or whether or not I can support this here and now. I think that there's a difference perhaps in how I would represent this public agency, which has different obligations than, say, the Habitat for Humanity Board or the but it would probably be similar to the Architectural Review Committee, where we just can't speak to our decisions ahead of the public meeting. Brown Act is pretty important in that sense. So I'm happy to hear people out, but I would say it's more appropriate to share somebody's views in public comment. If I know that what they're talking about is not going to be, I suppose it would be appropriate for them to speak with PK to make sure it gets agendized, or the board president. I'd be happy to take the item to them if that's easier, because often these are folks who don't have time and maybe they do see me and that's their only chance to talk to somebody on the board. So I would send an email at the very least to the board or the board president, making sure I follow whatever your procedures are in that sense. But I'm familiar enough with the Brown Act to know that you can't go too far in those conversations.
Okay, great. Trustee Khan.
Hi. I'm going to be asking question number 1, and just wanted to say that this question specifically I'm fairly passionate about, only because I think the first part of it heavily applies to me as a student, as well as all the students I represent. So that's just why I really wanted to ask this question, and that is, what do you see as the basic purpose of the public schools? What is the role of the board trustees in the fulfillment of that purpose?
I was in school about half of my life ago, public school, and I had a great experience. I know that that my experience is not representative of everyone, and watching how educational outcomes have changed, at least on a statistical level, over the last 15, 20 years, and just understanding the general trend of American schools. Public schools are a representation of how we as a community can ensure generational success. It's not just about, a person getting a good job out of school, but just being able to function in community, to be a part of a community. School is where you learn how to be a person. I mean, that happens outside of school too, but this is a place where at least you've got some structure. Hopefully you have a meal. I know that was always available for us. Sometimes you had to pay, often you did, most of the time actually. But if you've got nothing else, you should have public school option. Ideally, it's not going to cost you anything. You might get some field trips here and there that cost a little extra, but I wouldn't be who I am without my experience in public schools. And I grew up in a place that was, you know, all things relative, coastal county, Sonoma County. Pretty good public schools overall. But knowing the instability that is present in other schools, I want to make sure that every single person, at least in this district where I have any influence, comes out of it feeling like they, as long as they put in as much effort as they could, the school gave back exactly as much. I see private schools popping up more, charter schools. I see people losing faith in public education right now. And it saddens me, it worries me a lot. Because if I have kids, they're going to be part of that system. I want to believe that not just my tax dollars, but that the institution that we should still be able to be proud of is setting students up for opportunity. And I think that's really what it is, to make a choice of what to do with your life. I want you to be able to choose when you graduate, whether to go to college, whether to go to vocational school, whether to start a business, whether to just support your family, however you can start a family. As much as anything else, I want school to set you up with the ability to make a choice, not to just have, you know, not to be able to see past tomorrow. So whether it's discovering that you love fixing cars, or that you want to learn more about public policy, or I loved languages. I was fluent in Spanish by the end of high school. I wanted to learn more about other cultures and travel. So I did. I want you to discover what you can, or just feel like you're ready for the next step, to make a choice. And I think that's the purpose of public schools. I guess any school, but this has a special obligation because I'm paying taxes. If you're working, which I bet you are, you're paying taxes. We're all paying taxes into this. There's a collective agreement that this is how we ensure that the next generation has choice. So that, I think, is the role. And how do we do that? Oh God, we have to think very carefully about the choices we make and what to support. And I want to make sure that you, and I haven't met Priya yet, but share your experience. And I hope we can have other representation of student voices in other settings. I'm not sure how else we have listening sessions or not, what events we can attend. I see there's a parade tomorrow. That'll be fun. I don't know, this Architectural Review Committee, Board for Habitat for Humanity, these are little microcosms, but this feels a lot bigger, and it feels like a really important obligation. I'm one vote of several, but I will think through these decisions as carefully as I would anything affecting my own life, or if any family I might have in the future. Yeah, thanks for asking.
All right, great. So my question, I'm going to give you question number 8. Please summarize the strengths you would bring as a board member.
Just kind of piggybacking on that last answer, I often, to a fault, think things through when I'm making an important decision. I'm not impulsive. In fact, you might hear me pause before I speak because I'm thinking of how to say the right thing, not just for being perceived as likable. There are performers out there, but I truly want to contribute something meaningful to this. So I'm going to think through every single decision. I'm going to study the materials. I'm a voraciously curious person, so I'd love to learn. Never stopped. That's just a personality aspect, but in terms of expertise, housing, like I said, is where I've spent the last few years of my work and my professional life. And the school is in the midst of acting on something really important. And I think that's something to be really proud of. I think I neglected to mention that because I figured it would come up at some point, but I'm really proud that you all made the choice finally to go forward with the bond last year and invest in your teachers, invest also in the rest of the infrastructure that it'll support. But working on pro formas, working on, bringing to life a project for not just profit, but for workforce housing. These teachers are the people that I have in mind usually when I'm thinking workforce. I think it was Supervisor Daniels actually a few years ago, right before she started her campaign, who said, let's stop talking about affordable housing and start talking about who the housing's for. Housing for teachers. It's been ingrained in my rhetoric, but also in the way that I look at, what means affordable. What can a teacher afford? And what could a student afford when they graduate with whether they're working at a coffee shop or they're lucky enough to get an internship somewhere, or, heck, what can any of you afford? This place is pretty hard to live in. So just that lens that I've been honing for the last few years is something I'll bring to you when I'm helping to make decisions. So I know that's not everything, but each of you have your unique experiences, and I think that my unique experience and background will be particularly relevant in the next couple of years as you're choosing how to spend those resources, and then how to plan for the future for, say, future bonds or just any other, interdependent issues, whether it's how much you're going to pay the teachers, how much you can move around the budget, to make sure that different folks have what they need in their departments, or, I've spent so much time looking at spreadsheets for the last couple of years, and I'd be excited to look at more for this one. So I guess something I can bring to you in that sense is kind of a sick thrill that I get from a well-constructed spreadsheet.
That's pretty funny. Thank you. I did not at the beginning, and I should have, and I apologize. I did not give you a chance to tell us about yourself, a brief statement, whatever you would like to do. We want to hear from you now, please.
Okay.
If you have a statement, an opening statement that you had,
Oh, shucks.
or anything like that. If not a problem. But I want to make sure that we.
Yeah, I'll give you a little background, I suppose. So, yeah, like I said, I grew up in Sonoma County up north, and there are a lot of similarities. That's demographically similar, has a lot of agriculture, not as much as here, but wine country. I grew up around wine. My mom worked in wine. I still work in tasting rooms here. I have a more than full-time professional work between the nonprofit I run and the developer I work for, but I always try to keep some of my time in hospitality because it keeps me grounded. It's a nice change of pace, and I just love it. I love talking to people from out of town, from around town. Helps me keep my ear to the ground of what's happening, and just to also, it's easy to get to find yourself at a distance from the experience of people working in retail, working in hospitality. If you're working as a white collar professional, or salmon collared, I bartended an event in Pebble Beach last night for Chef Todd at the Meadery. Didn't get paid that much, but I did it anyway. I just like to keep my experiences diverse, so helps me make better decisions. I didn't really realize until the last few years, watching national politics, local politics, going door to door, how many different experiences need to be kept in mind making decisions. So this isn't like a bio per se, but all the stuff that you're asking me is kind of, I just want to let you know where I'm coming from. So, I grew up in a lower middle class family, white cisgendered male, didn't have a whole lot of struggles. My parents divorced, but they did a great job raising me anyway. You know, I feel like I have an obligation now to do whatever I can to use how I grew up, call it privilege, call it luck, call it whatever you want. It's all of those things to continue contributing to whatever community I've chosen, or that has chosen me in this case. I went to the Middlebury Institute for graduate school. Got feelings about that right now as well. I know that's going to be a big loss to the community. I'll be co-teaching a course there next semester with my former thesis advisor. But I studied public administration there, working a little bit backward. I studied international relations at UC Davis. Went to the junior college up in Sonoma County, SRJC, one of the best in the country. Studied linguistics. I know a few languages. Spanish is the best, but I don't know. I've been learning chess recently. On Duolingo. But I think I'm going to do my WSET for the wine soon. I don't know. I can't. I have busy hands, busy mind. So the more stuff on my plate, the more alive I feel, the more my capacity grows. So yeah, I'm on the ARC. Yes, I'm on the board for Habitat. And yes, I have my own nonprofit, and I work for a company that's building housing. But this, I feel like, just is going to enrich my life, and I think I can contribute even more with all these perspectives that I'm bringing to you. So I don't know if there are any specific questions you have about my background. I'm happy to answer. But yeah, and I guess I gestured to it too. Just, I guess, for full disclosure, I did manage Tyler Williamson's campaign. He's a friend of mine. But whatever I can do to move community forward here, that's why I'm here. You know, I saw him doing it. I've seen other folks around here doing it. And this seems like a great opportunity.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Board, is there anything else you guys would like to add on this? No. Any other questions, anything? Comments? Anything? Okay. Yes, Trustee Ofstow.
I just want to make sure that you have the opportunity to ask us any questions, if you have any.
I have a lot, but some of them are probably a little nitty-gritty. Well, I mean, this isn't something I would have thought was going to be on my plate or on my radar until last week. I've known Amanda for a little bit. She mentioned that she might have some changes coming in her life that would require her to step down. But I had no idea it would be me. So in this seat, I don't know, I'm not on the board yet. I'm thinking about housing all the time. I know you are too, to some extent. What else? I mean, putting housing aside, what are the other, say, top 2 challenges you're looking to address in the rest of this school year, next 5 years? You know, what can I go home and research for you?
I think I'll let the superintendent respond to that one.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, we're dedicated to creating opportunity for all students, and that means academic progress, but it also means social emotional well-being. And so I think we are kind of, that's our North Star is, you know, how do we create the conditions so that each of our schools are thriving, so that kids graduate with opportunities upon graduation. And I think when you look at our data, you can see that we are successful in some cases, and you can see where we have gaps in our success. And so I think really looking at those opportunity gaps, how do we close them so that all students, regardless of background, regardless of status as an English learner or as you know, parent education level, isn't predictive of their outcomes and what opportunities they have. So I think that's where we're really continue to be focused. In terms of maybe something a little bit more concrete is, around, a board goal is, to attract and retain high-quality, diverse staff. And I think in a place like the peninsula, as you've mentioned, high cost of living, that makes it really challenging. But we aren't going to get to the first goal that I mentioned if we don't make steady progress on the second goal of, as you mentioned, stabilizing our workforce. And so I think that's going to require creative solutions, because frankly, the state doesn't give us a ton of money to as much as we would need. And so how do we look at housing, childcare, healthcare, salaries and benefits, and be creative in ways that the total package can be more sustainable for our employees. So I'd say that's, a second major focus as well.
Gotcha. Thanks, PK.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Okay, anything else? All right, we are now going to move on to vote to appoint a candidate to fill the board trustee seat. Board, is there a motion?
I move approval
I'll second.
to appoint the candidate.
Okay, have a motion from Dr. Lusk and a second from Vice President Miramontes. Anything further? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Congratulations. Awesome. Okay, so next is administer the oath of office to selected candidate, Dr. Diffenbaugh. All right. Yes, Dr. Lusk.
No, I saw her.
Oh, okay.
For those on Zoom.
Oh, darn. Wonder what happened. Oh. Okay. So now we're going to move to advance planning. Our next meeting is the end of the month, if someone has that.
Sorry, October 28th is our next regular board meeting, October 28th.
October 28th is our next regular board meeting, but we do have another special meeting the week before that. 21st?
21st.
21st, on the 21st. Okay? And that'll be for superintendent's evaluation. Okay, so now adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
I'd like to see if we can also recognize our adjournment tonight. Today's September 30th. I'd like to request for recognition of National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, honoring residential school survivors, their families, and those children that did not make it home from boarding schools of Indigenous people. Every September 30th, we wear orange, as every child does matter. And I would just like to see if we can support that recognition of September 30th for every child that matters. Thank you.
All right, have a motion from Vice President Miramontes and a second from Trustee Uchida. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. We are adjourned.